everyone, we are from Group 3 in 1CC7 class. Today, me and my friends will discuss about the presentation of our third project. Before we start the presentation, I will introduce my friends. First, myself, RAHARUSUN as the moderator.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is ALODIA NASYWA from 1CC7 class Group 3.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Azzam ZAIDAN from 1CC7 class.
In this presentation, we will discuss about database design and implementation of Asique Boutique. And now I will explain about entity relationship diagram, database diagram, and customer table. This is entity relationship diagram for Asique Boutique database design with the attribute for each entity. We have 4 entities, namely customer, employee, job, owner, and item. This is the one-to-many relationship, and relationship between customer and item is customer will pay the item. Relationship between customer and employee, customer will serve by the employee. And relationship between employee and owner, employee will report to the owner. Relationship between employee and job, the employee will detail the job. And this is the database diagram. As you can see, there are 6 tables. There are namely table detail, table item, table transaction, table customer, table employee, and table job. And table detail use detail code as primary key. In table item, use item code as primary key. Table transaction, use transaction code as primary key. In table employee, use employee code as primary key. And in table customer, use customer code as primary key. And last, table job, use job code as primary key. Next, I will explain about customer table. In customer table, we have table design, validation, perform, and example itself. In table design, we use integer data type for customer code, and we use varchar data type for name, email, phone number, and address. In validation perform, customer code as primary key constraint, name, phone number, address, and email as not null constraint in create table statement, and email as rule pattern underscore rules, and email phone number must be unique, so we use unique constraint in the create table statement. And for example, you can see in table data provided. Next, ALODIA NASYWA will explain about item table, employee table, and job table.
First, about the item table, we have a table design, validation perform, and example. In table design, we have an item code with a int data type, a color with a varchar data type, type item with a varchar data type, price with a money data type, stock item with int data type, and size with varchar data type. In validation perform, we have an item code as primary key constraint, color, type item, price, stock item, and size as a not null in table statement. Stock item will O if don't entered, default O constraint in table statement, and stock item should decrease the stock as a trigger stock. And about the example, you can see in the table that provided. About employee table, we have a table design, validation perform, and example. In table design, we have a EMP code with a int data type, name, address, and gender with a varchar data type, and job code with a int data type. In validation perform, we have a EMP code as a primary case constraints, name, address, gender, and job code as a not null constraint in the create table statement, and job code as a foreign key constraint in the alter table statement. And about the example table in employee table, you can see the table provided. And about job table, we have a table design, validation perform, and example table. In table design, we have a job code, with a int data type, job title with a varchar data type, and salary with a money data type. In validation perform, we have a job code as a primary key constraint, job title and salary as a not null constraint in the create table statement. And about the example table, you can see in the table provided. About the transaction table, we have a table design, validation perform, and example. In table design, we have a TS code with int data type, we have a CS code with int data type, we have a EMP code with the int data type, we have a total item with a int data type, we have a TS date with a date data type, we have a payment method with a varchar data type, and we have a total payment with a money data type. In validation perform, we have a TS code as a primary constraint, we have a CS code and EMP code as a foreign key constraint in the alter table statement. We have a CS code, EMP code, total item, TS date, payment method, and total payment as a not null constraint in the create table statement. And about the example in transaction table, you can see in table provided. The last about detail table, we have a table design, validation perform, and example table. In table design, we have a DT code with int data type. We have a TS code with int data type. We have an item code with int data type. We have a T item with int data type and price detail with a money data type. In validation perform, we have a DT code as a primary key, TS code and item code as a foreign key in the alter table statement. T item, price detail, TS code and item code as a not null in the create table statement. The T item should increase the stock as a trigger, trick stocks, and the last price should increase the total of payment as a trigger, trick payment. And about the example table, you can see in the table provided.
And then Azzam ZAIDAN will explain about transaction table, detail table, store procedure, trigger, and rule.
Store procedure. Store procedure is a set of SQL commands that are stored with a certain name and submitted as a unit, or it can be said that the subprogram is stored in the database. The processes that can be performed with stored procedure takes a parameter as input and return the value in the form of the output parameter to the caller. I use the stored procedure to insert because the transaction table and the detail table will insert the data repeated. When we type the name of the procedure, then enter the data and execute the query, then the data will automatically be input into the table without using the insert query as usual. Trigger. A trigger in the database is procedural code that is executed automatically to perform certain changes to a specific table or view in the database. Trigger can be defined to run command before or after execution of DML, data manipulation language, such as insert, update, and delete. Here, my group uses a trigger to update the table, so that when I enter the input into the table, the total in the table in the transaction column will automatically increase, and the item column will decrease in stock. Rule. The rule is defined by the text body property, which is a text string that contains a condition expression that uses operator or predicate, such as in, like, or between. I use the rule pattern. So, then when inputting data into the table in the email column, I have to use the email at gmail.com, otherwise the insert will not be executed when it is executed.
Thank you. See you in the next project. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.